Welcome once again, Knight fans, to Holding Court with Todd Dagenais, along with the coach. I'm Jeff Sharon, UCF Volleyball, finishing off the opening weekend of the 2011 season with a 2-1 record in the Courtyard by Marriott UCF Classic held right over here at the venue at UCF Arena. And Coach Dagenais, looking back at that first weekend, nice to finally, you get the butterflies out. You have a good weekend against South Alabama, Michigan State, and UNF. Overall, highlights of the tournament for you.
Well, I think it's probably, as a coaching staff, it's probably where we should have finished at 2-1. It's not where we wanted to finish. We wanted the opportunity to go 3-0, and I felt like we had opportunity. But of course, Michigan State, it's a big physical Big Ten team, and they can do a lot of things to really hold you in check. And their size held us in check. They're as big, as fast, and as athletic as advertised.
Yeah.
And so, I thought that they were really a good team. Going back to the first day, South Alabama, we did what we needed to do in that match. I thought we were really consistent. We hit for some really gaudy hitting percentages, and it was a real nice way to start the season for us and set us up for that Michigan State match.
Mm-hmm. Now, when we look back at that South Alabama match, I thought that it was key to get, you always want to get like that first match in there and just, go through it, have everybody firing on all cylinders off the bat, and it looked like it was just a very solid workman-like performance by really the entire team and everybody that came out. What was the big key in that match to getting the victory over the Jaguars?
I thought the fact that we've had so many returning starters was a big piece of it, and I thought I think this could very well be the first year we've had a returning starting setter, and I think that makes a huge difference when you're getting into that first match, because it seems like everybody was pretty much on the same page, ready to go. Really, the only new starter that we had was Ashley Galinos in her rookie debut. Mm-hmm. Kayla Keller, if she would have been healthy, probably would have been in that spot, and we would have returned our entire lineup from the spring. So, we were. It was just kind of a continuation of spring, and Galinos held her own in her first college action, and we were able to fire on all the cylinders.
Michigan State later that night was a little bit more of a tough situation for you guys. Of course, like you said, Michigan State's a very good team, arguably the most athletic team in the Big Ten Conference, and they're playing against the best competition in the country week in and week out. But what were some of the highlights for your team stepping into that match against the Spartans, as good as Michigan State was?
Well, I think there's a couple things. We told them, our team, to serve tough, and I thought we served tough. It caused some hitting errors, or some serving errors. But we did serve tough. The other thing is, I thought we were able to really establish a right side attack, which was something we felt like that we could do. We didn't get enough performance out of all the left side hitting core. I thought Angelica Crump really did a nice job scoring. Mm-hmm. She hit close to 200, and that's good enough to be able to win that match. Probably didn't get as much production out of the middles as what we needed to beat a Big Ten team. But there was enough there that we were really competitive. The blocking wasn't an issue. We just didn't score enough points in the middle like what we probably needed to do to beat a team like Michigan State. But ball control-wise, defense-wise, we were right there. We outkilled them. We outdug them. We almost outblocked them. The only thing that we didn't do is outscore them on the scoreboard. And, sometimes that happens when you play those big teams. But the experience is going to be priceless, and it's going to be something that's going to carry us throughout the year.
Now, I thought that the real highlight match of the weekend was the following day against UNF. You get a nice crowd into the venue for that match to wrap up the tournament. And they jumped on us early in that match, won the first set, and had a pretty sizable lead in the second set. And then all of a sudden, things kind of snapped into place. What was the turning point in that match that enabled you to take it in 4?
Well, I would have to say it's probably, where we just kind of buckled down about halfway or 3/4 of the way through the second set and just battled. And we were able to come out on top. We caught a couple nice breaks, made a couple nice plays, some real key defensive plays. We shut down their top hitter, and we really started putting the pressure back on them. Yeah. But it took a game and a half to do it. And we really had our back against the wall there, down 10-4 in the second set, and then just slowly mounted our way back. That's what we couldn't do in the first set. They built up that early lead, and we were just trading 1-for-1s, side out, and you have to score 2-for-1s or sometimes 3-for-1s to get back in that set. That's exactly what we did in the second set. And I think once we got in the locker room and it was 1-1, people asked me, what did you say, or how'd you fire them up? I really didn't. I calmed them down because I thought they were so nervous, skittish maybe. And it's really what had happened was it's the equivalent of UNF just going out there if it was a basketball game and they hit 75% from the 3-point line. Everything that they hit dropped, and they played sick defense. And I really got to give them a lot of credit for their ball control and their defense, because it really spooked us. And it made us have to work that much harder just to be able to score. Eventually, the ball started to fall for us, and we started creating our own breaks and creating our own luck. And we were able to come back, and I think that was probably evidenced by the third set and how well we played the third set, and then kind of cruised to the fourth set.
I thought looking back at at the field of the tournament, I think we're probably going to look back at this weekend and say, we really took it to we played against some really tough competition. South Alabama looked very, very good. They're in the Sun Belt Conference. They looked very, very good in all three of their matches, I thought, and kind of caught some tough breaks along the way. We know about how good Michigan State is and the competition that they're playing. Good luck in the Big Ten to the Spartans, because that's going to be tough. And and we were talking about this earlier. I think UNF is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the Atlantic Sun. What did you think about that competition once the dust settled?
Yeah, I thought it was exactly what we needed to have. South Alabama really gave us a chance to go out there, just really work on our side of the net. And I think they're better probably than they've been in the last couple of years. And I know traditionally they haven't done well in their conference, but I suspect that this year they're going to be better. Michigan State, of course, is going to be at least a middle-of-the-pack Big Ten team. North Florida, I think, is probably the best North Florida team, personally, that I've seen since we've been here at UCF, and quite possibly even before that. I think Coach Campbell's done a great job with that team and really instilling the fire and the discipline that they need to compete on a night in and night out basis. Volleyball, you don't have to jump high and hit hard. If you can pass and you can play great defense, you got a chance in every match. That's exactly what UNF does this year. So I really give her a lot of credit. They were ready to play us, and I suspect they're going to be ready to have a good year this year.
And our thanks to the folks, not just the players and the coaching staff from Michigan State, South Alabama, and UNF, but also the fans who came down, quite a sizable contingent from all three schools that came in to the venue and spent the weekend with us as we opened up the season. So special thanks to them. Now, Conference USA opening weekend. What were some of the highlights from some of the other squads that we saw in Conference USA?
Well, I think right now Memphis looks like they're going to be pretty good. I don't know the level of competition they played, but I know they went 3-0 or 4-0, so I think they're legit. I think right now Tulsa dropped a couple of matches. That might, they're just probably getting used to the new system and the new coach. They're going to be just fine. Don't anybody worry about Tulsa.
They'll figure that one out.
They're going to be just fine. So they're dabbling a little bit with a new lineup, I think, and they had some out-of-season issues that they're going to overcome, I think, with personnel, and they're going to be there. We don't have to worry about them. Houston's going to be legit. SMU dropped a couple matches, but I think Tulsa, SMU, and Houston all played a tough schedule. They're really challenging themselves to try to get in the NCAA tournament, so their early returns aren't going to be as high as maybe some of the other schools that haven't played that level of competition. But I think right now, here's what we know. We don't know anything. It's just too darn early to tell who's legit and who's not, and we're probably not going to find out until halfway through the conference season. Yeah,
and these matches in the early season, these aren't throwaway matches for anybody in the conference, because when you don't have a conference tournament to go to, obviously this every match really does matter, especially when you're talking about things like the RPI, like you said, and having that special factor, the fact that, you're going to have 8 teams from Conference USA, or 6 teams from Conference USA with victories in the final weekend.
Right.
So these matches now do count, and they count a lot.
Absolutely. For those teams that want to be in the NCAA tournament this year, they have to play against those tough teams to build their RPI, and they have to knock off a couple of them so they're on that, the high side of the board on Selection Sunday.
Yeah.
And so those teams that feel like they have a legitimate shot at the NCAA tournament are going out there and they're doing it. They're traveling the country, they're playing the tough competition, and they're putting themselves in position to create some breaks for themselves on Selection Sunday.
Speaking of national competition, we saw some headlines from in the upper ranks of national volleyball. What was the big headline for you this past weekend as we started the 2011 season?
Well, we said last week number one starts and ends with Penn State, and Penn State on their court lost for the first time in 94 matches. I think it was the first time since 2005 that they
I thought
lost.
It was for the first time since Paterno was still walking, since before Paterno was walking around at Penn State.
Maybe that's what it was. No, I know it was a 94 match win streak. They hadn't lost on their own court since 2005.
Goodness.
And so that's big news for Oregon to come out of the Pac-10 all the way across the country and beat Penn State on their floor. And then Penn State has to turn on the next night and play the number 2 team in the country, which is Southern California. Southern California goes up 2-0. Penn State comes storming back to win in 5 in front of 6,000 people in a national television audience. And here we are, we get a chance to play a Southern California here in the next week after they just played the number 1 team in the country, lost in 5 in front of one of the best crowds that we're going to see all year. And so that was really exciting to see that level of competition. So all 4 teams in that preseason showcase won 1 match. So who's number 1 this year? You look at the poll that just came out, and I think there's 7 teams receiving number 1 votes.
Goodness.
And so nobody in the country knows who number 1 is right now. Some people say Oregon's number 1. They have 1 vote. I think they moved up to 14th in the country. But Penn State has their share of 1 votes. Cal is now number 1 in the country. Penn State's 2. I think USC is 3. And so we know the big dogs. We just don't know what order they are just yet.
Well, regarding Oregon, I think you beat Penn State. I don't care what you ranked beforehand. Somebody should at least give you 1 first-place vote for going into State College and knocking off the Nittany Lions, don't you think?
I agree, and somebody did. I don't know if it was Oregon's coach or Penn State's coach or some random voter out there that just thinks the way you do, but somebody gave Oregon a first-place vote. And you know what? It's well-deserved.
Yeah, exactly, and congratulations to them. That was a heck of an opening weekend. Now, we get our own chance to throw maybe a little bit of a mix into the national picture with the tournament coming up that we're heading down to at Florida Gulf Coast down in Fort Myers. 3 key matches starting off 11:30 in the morning on Friday, if I'm not mistaken,
right,
against the Southern California Trojans. So we all know about how good they are. What are we going to see in that match?
Well, we're going to see some really nice athletes who have a chance to win a national championship. And this is one of those matches, we said we've got to expand the reputation and the blueprint of UCF volleyball. Mm-hmm. And the way we do that is to either bring in quality teams or go where quality teams are playing. Yeah. And that's what our athletes want to do. Really, they don't want to beat up on the 200 RPI teams. They want to be in position where they can test themselves against the best teams in the country. And frankly, that's our attitude. We want to see where we are. Mm-hmm. Do we expect to beat these teams? We're going to try. We expect to compete with these teams. But this is going to be a great experience for our athletes to get on the floor with the best in the nation. And then we're going to walk out of there knowing exactly where we are. And that's why we play these kinds of matches. So it's going to be exciting. We get a chance to play the Trojans, and it's and instead of reading about them in Volleyball magazine and watching them on national TV, they're going to be across the net from us this time. And so that's why you come to UCF to play volleyball, is to be able to play against teams like that.
Now, we still have 2 other matches to worry about that weekend as well, against 2 pretty good teams. First of all, after the Southern California match, Furman, who is a very tough team, tougher than a lot of people expect, aren't they?
Well, I think you hear Furman and you don't think of volleyball. Well, that's a big mistake because they've traditionally been a high RPI team year in and year out. They go off and they knock off some people and they win their conference and they build up huge records, and that's a great RPI team. That's why we scheduled them. We wanted to be able to play a high RPI team. And so we just didn't know that they were going to go in and knock off Wisconsin pretty easily last week. So Furman is legit, and you know what? Again, that's another test for us. I think it's a great chance for us to go in there and line up against a team that's very similar to us. Maybe they're a little bit more advanced in their development as a program than what we are, but it's a good test for us to be able to go in there against a great Furman team who's already, put a big notch on their resume, and it's a chance for us to line up against them and see how we compare.
And then last but not least, Florida Gulf Coast. Always tough to go into a team like Florida Gulf Coast, to go into their place where that it's their territory.
Yeah, you wonder why in the world you're going to schedule an in-state school at their place. You're setting yourself up, but I think we're ready for that kind of a challenge. And we've played Florida Gulf Coast twice in the 2 years I've been here. They beat us on our floor, and then we turn around and beat them on their floor last year. And so we have to go back down there again. Part of it was because we really wanted to play USC, and USC was there. But it's one of those matches where an in-state school, just like North Florida, you know what they're going to do. They're going to go out there and they're going to pin their ears back and they're going to try to kick your butt. And so it's going to be up to us to respond to that. I think we can go in there. I think we can take care of our side of the net. We'll compete very favorably. But they've got home field advantage, and they've got a lot of things on their side that we have to be able to overcome on the road.
Well, it's going to be a fun weekend down in Fort Myers. Make sure you follow all the action on UCFathletics.com. Also follow UCF Volleyball on Facebook and Twitter. UCF_volleyball is the Twitter handle for you to follow. Well, Coach, thanks again. Congratulations on the 2-1 start, and we'll catch you when you get back from Fort Myers.
You. My pleasure. We'll talk about it then.
All right, and thank you for joining us here on Holding Court with the Coach Todd Dagenais. We'll catch you again next week when the Knights get back from the tournament down in Fort Myers. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you again next week.